Hello and welcome to another episode of Franchise Hockey Manager 2. We are currently playing as the 1979-1980 Winnipeg Jets. My name is Adam. I'm the community manager for Franchise Hockey Manager. With me, as always, is Jeff, who is pictured on the video screen.
I am. And we've been a couple of weeks. We took a week off for the Out of the Park 17 launch, give them an extra hour or so to go, but we are back now. Been 3 weeks since we played this, so when we left off, we had hopefully fixed our goaltending problems, and we're doing much better than anticipated with the 79 Jets, who in real life were pretty terrible, but we've picked up a few players, signed a few free agents, and made a trade for Richard Brodeur in goal. So hopefully, maybe got a shot at the playoffs here. This is at the point in league history where there was 16 out of 21 teams making the playoffs, so it was a lot easier to get in than it is now. So we may have a shot at doing that, and hopefully won't screw up our draft pick too much. But by finishing a little higher in the standings. Speaking of the draft, normally we've been going one game at a time and kind of working slowly through this as I walk you through the various settings for training and scouting and stuff like that. Instead of going so slowly now, what I'm going to do is fire this up, and we're going to jump ahead probably on a month-by-month basis. And so we'll be simming a bunch of games very quickly. I've still got the interrupts on to let us know if there's an injury or anything like that, so I can directly intervene and make any roster changes if that's necessary. But I think that's enough of an explanation of what we're doing. What we're going to say.
Just before you do jump, we do have a guy on who's coming off the injury list in 5 days. So you might want to just go to next
Willie
week.
Lindstrom, 5 days. Well, we'll go ahead a week or so, and it should cut us off anyhow as soon as I go to. As soon as I hit that 5-day mark, and what are we midway through the month? Yeah, I'm going to do next month anyhow. And here we go, and you should see very quickly. See, naturally we get a message right off the first day. Oh, that's our scouting report. Came back on our upcoming entry draft. A few interesting guys in there. Russellinen, Lube, Doug Lidster, Dave Barr, Walt Podubny, Darren Veitch, Jim Fox, Kelly Kizio, and fairly similar guys all the way through there. Kevin Lowe, you can see it was a pretty strong draft that year. And we're going to get a reasonably decent player in the first few picks regardless of what we do, so I'm not too concerned about falling down the draft a bit. And then we've also got our guy looking at the NHL, just updating our scouting reports from around the league. So enough of that, and back to our simming next month. And here we go. There's, just as Adam said, we're getting a message. Willie Lundstrom is back from the injured list. We have an empty roster spot. You can see right there, 22 out of 23 players dressed, so no problems bringing him back up.
I'm also noticing Craig Norwich is not playing right now. We might want to get him back in the lineup.
Yeah, actually, it looks like in mine,
in.
and the AI has done that for us already. It figured that out and is sitting Schuberg down.
Perfect.
So that's I've got the assistant options on for setting lineups. So we should also put Lindstrom back in, and I will back to next month. And naturally, Lindstrom comes back. Dave Christian gets hurt.
That seems about right. Someone's always got to be hurt, right?
And what's patellar tendonitis? Sounds painful, but only out for 6 days, so we will just do exactly what we did with Lindstrom.
Well, that is not a very pleasant thing, tendonitis.
On the injury list for a week. We will get him back by the end of the month again. Lindstrom will get a little first-line time. And not having a lot of injury luck here. Bill Nyrup goes down now. Sore quads, but he's only out a day, so I'm not going to do anything with that. He will come back on his own. And finally we get this rolling a little bit and made it to the end of the month. Got a few messages in our inbox, nothing too interesting to us. Minor deal from Calgary and Vancouver. Don Maloney's hurt. Oh, our development report. You can see there that we've got a lot of guys who are older or borderline fringe NHLers. You're going to see their numbers going down pretty regularly through the season. In most cases, you won't have basically this much crap in your lineup. We're starting with an expansion team, so we've got a lot of guys that are going to go downhill. At the top of the list, though, not too bad. We got a few guys. Bill Nyrup, who we just picked up. He's Matty Hagman, also improving. That's good news. Mark Planter, interesting thing. I was with Out of the Park 17 releasing last week. I was poking around with their new feature with full minor leagues, historical minor leagues, and I'm looking at the Yankees from about 78, and lo and behold, Mark Planter, turns out he played a couple of games of single A ball for them. Didn't really go anywhere. I think he was hitting about 130, but relatively unknown two-sport athlete there. And Player of the Month, Guy Lafleur. Not a surprise. He had some injury problems in real life this year, but a huge start for him, 29 points in 13 games. So I'm guessing Montreal is doing not too badly. Yeah, 18-6. Pretty nice. But back to our month-to-month simming. And I've got this set to... we got an update from our owners. And they're fairly happy with us. Not doing too great recently. What's our record right now?
Nothing spectacular.
Still 11-10. We're good at home. We're lousy on the road. Goal differential leaves a lot to be desired, but I think that was some losses at the beginning of the season that hurt us there. But let's run this forward to the new year now. And Dave Christian's ready to come back now, so that will help us out. And we've had no new injuries since then. So it looks like Dave Hoyt has got a little day-to-day thing. What's up with that? Strained his back. So he's still worth keeping in the lineup. I don't think the AI has taken him out at all. And get back to simming. And you can see us sliding down the standings there. Not too terribly surprising. New injury report. Guy Lafleur goes out for a month. Kent Nielsen, former Jet, out for a month. Oh, God, look at that. Lafleur and Shutt both go down for the Habs.
Oh, that's too bad.
Shutt out for a month, and or Lafleur out for a month and Shutt for 3 weeks. And we've got another scouting report back. You can see a few interesting guys on there. 21. Nobody we really didn't know too much about going to the draft. Ross Fitzpatrick. It's actually the cousin of a friend of mine. Didn't have much of an NHL career. He was kind of stuck with. He had, I think, a cup of coffee with the Flyers a couple of times, but most of the time he was stuck playing in the AHL. And if I remember right, he's still scouting for them now. But back to the simming. Rolling forward and down the standings we go. You can see Colorado, who was actually the last place team in real life this year. And here we go. We've been worried about that. Bobby Hull is hurt. Cross your fingers. Oh, no, it looks like it's just day-to-day, thankfully. Oh, no. Okay, he ruptured a tendon in his finger, but he's going to try and play through it. 86% fitness, so we can expect his scoring totals to go down fairly dramatically. We're almost at the midpoint of the season, so what I'm going to do is play... Let's see, we are at 38 games. I'm going to play 2 more games, and that will get us to 40 games, and then we'll just do a little evaluation of how the players are doing at this point, since that'll be precisely halfway through the season. Oh, we do have the 79-80 end-of-season poll. So not too surprising for this point. Gretzky dominating. Tiger Williams, toughest guy in the league. Brad Park with the hardest shot. Pretty reasonable there, especially with Hull's finger not working. Dave Keon for the cleanest, definitely. Gainey, best role model. Yeah, I'll say that's fair enough. And Tony O and the Blackhawks. He was. I think this was pretty much his last really good season for Chicago, and went downhill after that. So I can kind of see that. It's kind of a not the greatest goaltending era for the league, as you can see by the scoring totals.
No. Well, this was high scoring era. This is 200 points a season.
And we'll see that in a minute when. And board confidence. Oh yeah, last month record is 2-11. Okay, now we're seeing the true potential of the 79 Jets.
Perfect.
And have we played 40 games yet? Still 39. Okay, there we are. 40 games through the season. Fourth in the Smythe division, and still, wow, look at that goal differential. That is nasty. Negative 52 in 40 games. Colorado, I think, is...
Yeah.
Detroit, the Wings were in pretty sad state at this point, too. Worst in the league for that. Minus 81 through 38 games. That's ugly.
Well, the Detroit Red Wings fell in some very hard times for...
Yeah, eventually they...
80s.
Picked up some guy named Yzerman, and that kind of turned things around for them. But that is still a couple of years off at this point. But let's have a look at our roster, and I'll flip it over to the stats summary view. Sorted by points, and okay, not too surprising. I mean, Bobby Hull, injury and all, is still second leading scorer on this team. Real life, he was, I think, injured for most of this year. Bill Clement, who turned into a great pickup for us, I think he had been a decent second-line guy in Atlanta, but his real career was kind of heading downhill by this point. But looks like we've rejuvenated him. Matty Hagman, okay, happy with that. Good free agent signing. And then you start getting into the guys we were stuck with at the start of the year. Willie Lindstrom's a little disappointing, 20 points in 32 games. He was a pretty good, 50 to 60 point second liner at this point in real life. I think he'd be getting pushed down a little bit. Dave Christian would kind of want a little bit more out of him, even though it's his rookie year.
Yeah.
Scott Campbell, nice and solid. That's good. Bill Nyrup, good old Barry Melrose, his prime mullet years. Not doing too badly. And the rest of the team, Jimmy Mann, first round draft pick, 122 penalty minutes in 40 games, so might actually be a little quieter than he was in real life. And not much going on there. Let's just take a quick look at the goalie stats. And Brodeur, I mean, you look at these numbers now, and 446 goals against average would be absolutely tragic in the modern era. But this year, 876 save percentage. I was just reading before I came online. I think Jonas Hiller is got 879 right now, and it's going to be the worst starting goalie's save percentage in several years, and we're actually lower than that. But that's pretty good for this era. And you see Pierre Hamel, the guy we started with as a number one, is at 851. So I think it's helped us a bit, or at least kept us from being quite as terrible by picking up Brodeur, and he should stay around for a few years. Sorting by game rating. Then bear in mind here, when you see the game rating, this is showing how well he's doing the job that he's expected to do right now, not necessarily how well he's performing by some overall standard. And this is something I've been talking with Sebastian, our lead coder, with about changing a little bit for FHM3. Something we may look at doing is breaking down the game rating a little bit more, so you can see how well he was doing relative. How the offensive side of his game was graded, how the defensive side of the game was graded, and maybe intangibles or physical play as one or two extra categories. So you can see a little bit of the components of the game rating, as opposed to just getting this one number, which I can see is potentially a little bit confusing.
Okay.
But looking at the list here, Lukowicz, our leading scorer, is still up there. But areas of concern: Ross Corey, who didn't. This was his only decent or only relatively complete NHL season in real life, if I remember right. He's absolute bottom of the list. And the AI keeps playing him for some reason ahead of Schuberg. I think I might force that situation a bit. I could go in and change the roster myself, but I think what I will do is just dump him down at the minors, which in this case is our reserve list. Lyle Moffat also not doing well. So we are going to make. I could go in and start operating manually again, but the point of this is to show you how quickly the game can go if you want to cut back on a few of the settings. And so I'm going to send Corey down to the minors / reserve list. Likewise, Lyle Moffat. Did I hit waivers? Oh no, he's old enough to be eligible on waivers, so he's going to go on waivers as well. I doubt anybody is desperate enough to pick him up, other than potentially Colorado, but or Detroit. I don't think they have anybody any worse in their lineups right now.
Yeah, probably not.
And we want to call up a defenseman. I will sort this by ability to see what we want to do. We did sign Randy Gregg, who was off in medical school at real life at this point a few weeks ago, so he's had a little bit of a chance to play now, and he's a bit older than Tim Waters, our other option at defenseman. So let's bring up Dr. Andy. And other options, Lawrence Stamler. He was up at the start of the year. He's probably not really going to get any better. I'm going to go with the veteran Jet, Bill Lasuk. Kind of a mainstay of the WHA years, but basically I'm just doing that. So there's some filler on the roster, and the AI will probably take, or should take, John Markell as its winger. Can find out for sure, though, just by going over to the lines page, asking the assistant. Oopsie. Oh, no, I don't want it to set up organization. I will actually I'm going to leave that until we play the next game and do it that way, because I forgot I've got the AI assistant on. And we will finish today's day, and now I will look at the lines and see what they did with it. So yeah, Markell goes in, Lars-Erik Schuberg. Who did we bench there? Well, we benched Norwich. Kind of debatable because the guy had the best points rating. The problem is Norwich is a really good offensive defenseman, absolutely terrible on terrible defensively. And we're getting okay offensive production now, so I'm not crazy about it, but we'll trust our coach for the time being. We did manage to scrape out a draw against Atlanta. And how did the call-ups do in that? Greg had not the greatest game in the world. I think we've lost Adam. As far as I know, I'm just double-checking to make sure the broadcast is still running. And I will assume this is live on my end, because everything says it is, so I think we may have just had Adam drop out for a second there. Oh, actually, I think I see the potential problem. You can hear me, but I'm guessing Adam can't because our...
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Discord, I was actually still broadcasting fine. Discord just went down on us, so you lost me, but the audience...
Yeah, I was trying to check and see and find out.
Yeah, I could still hear you in my ear, but for some reason it wasn't... saying anything to you. So anyhow, I was just saying we lost Dave Christian to another injury.
Of course.
Another day-to-day one, but he's still in there, and let's see how long that's going to be for. Oh, it's just a cold.
There's still some decent free agents if we want to look at maybe doing some upgrades too, or signing some guys for next year.
Yeah, I'm actually going to switch over off the injury settings. You can see it's not going to interrupt autoplay anymore unless a player is out for at least a week. Let's see what we've got here for conference standings. Yeah, we're back down to a non-playoff spot. And we're in January. We can still do something here. Let's take a look at the roster. You know, defensively, we could probably still use a little help. Forwards, I'm not terribly unhappy with at this point. They're doing reasonably well. I don't want to push Jimmy Mann out of a spot as bad as he is. He's our first rounder, so we want to give him some time. And
well, if we can get, might as well play the best guys we can.
Yeah,
at some point.
Take a look at the free agents. Sort them, who's at the top of the list now. Good old Terry Murray is out there as a defenseman. We got plenty of defensive defensemen already. Peter Hollander, Jürgen Pettersson's. It's tempting to sign him because he was a really good player in real life. He was still over in Sweden at this point. We're kind of full at center right now. There's some good players out there. Let me try sorting by potential, thinking about a little bit more in the long term. And yeah, Sinisalo, Jürgen Pettersson, Mark Pavlich. We could pick up another U.S. Olympian from that year. But I think for what we need right now, I don't see a lot of better options than Terry Murray. So let's see what he wants. And I've forgotten here, we're already at our contract maximum for this year, so I can't dump anybody since we're actually technically I would have been able to get rid of guys if I was really playing in this era, but right now in the game it's applying the modern rules, so you can't buy somebody out. I will see if I can waive somebody. Let's try to... or I could think about... I'm going to put a couple of guys on the trading block. We may get a roster, we may get an offer for one of these veterans, as unlikely as that is, and see if that clears a little bit of roster space that way. But back simming towards the trade deadline, and we got another scouting report in. And yeah, okay, Anton Stasny, obviously that'd be nice to have. But you can see we're just kind of filling out the scouting in the mid or late first round and second and third rounds at this point. Nothing too interesting down there. Back to the... okay. So Hull's got himself injured again.
Should we consider putting Hull on the
another
block?
day-to-day injury, and he's screwed up his finger again. Only he's going to be out. It's going to take him 3 months to come back from it this time.
Should we consider putting Bobby Hull on the block?
That is tempting. I don't think I'm cheating a little bit here and thinking about the AI. I think that I can't remember if that day-to-day one will scare teams away from him. What the hell? Let's give it a shot. You would have been crucified for that in Winnipeg in the late 80s, though. Oh, we had a lot of scouting report coming in.
I don't think anyone would care too much about him in the late 80s.
Yeah, still big hero and great for the... he did kind of leave there without too much fanfare when he right at the end of his career. You can see the scouting report is looking more at the top of the first round guys: Barry Peterson, Larry Murphy, Steve Casper, Don Beaupre, Dave Babich, who actually went to the Jets in real life that season and didn't have that amazing mustache at that point.
Well, that would be virtually impossible.
No, it was the late 70s, early 80s. Guys had huge mustaches when they were, 17. So, and Jimmy Mann is hurt. Oh, come on! Don't interrupt the game for a Lister. Okay, now we got a problem. Richard Brodeur got hurt. And it's the Dark Red X, so I hesitate to even click on this. Oh god, what's the damage? separated his shoulder, out for 4 weeks.
That seems about right.
So I think we may need to rethink our possibilities of making the playoffs. Richard Brodeur onto the injury list.
Time to bring up Janik.
Bob Janicic, Marcus Matson, or
Janicic.
Gary Smith. Actually, Matson's a 2.5 stars, and he's a 2.5 stars. He's not going to get any better. Janicic is a 2 stars and has potential for 3. Let's bring Janicic up.
Trial by fire.
Make him happy at least, and I will just give this until we're almost at the end of the month anyhow. Let's bump that into February and get to the end of February. That'll get us Brodeur back, and then trading deadline is until March the 10th. We got another. It's later in these at this point in NHL history, and oh great, now Lukovic gets hurt. Ay. Back spasms, out for 3 weeks. Come on.
Of course he does. Can't catch a break.
He's on the injury list, and I am back to the reserve list to pick out. Let's go with another high potential younger guy. Tom Steen. This was way before he actually came over to North America, but we've got him under contract right now. So he is coming up. He's going to get a shot. I don't think I've overloaded on the centers. No, I'm still okay balanced position-wise. Season was getting rough, and I think it's about to get even rougher. What do we got here? Board confidence.
Well, let's keep in mind, last week we had the future Jets go through a perfect month of December.
Yeah, true enough. And our owner's not happy again. Well, big surprise. What'd you get? You're the one that brought us into this league and let them take away all of our players. So don't complain too much here, buddy. But you can see us, those losses are piling up, and Bobby Hull gets hurt yet again. Now, what did I say about him having injury problems this year? I'm surprised he's even still in there.
Let's try and force him to somebody for a first-round draft pick.
And it's still okay. Actually, he's got. I see what it's doing here. It's the long-term injury is overriding the other ones, but he's also playing with. He hurt his ribs at one point, bruised his ankle, chronic back soreness. So Bobby Hull is just a freaking mess at this point. But he's hanging in there. So this may be his last year in the league. I'm kind of suspecting if we don't get a trade offer for him, he's probably going to hang him up at the end of this year. Because we do have the option for historical retirements turned off. We wouldn't get the extra season or so that he had out of him. And thankfully, Morris Lukovic is now back. We will get him off the reserve list, and Richard Brodeur is only 1 day away. So Lukovic is onto the active roster. I will send John Markell down, I think. And I only need to play 1 game to get Brodeur back, and Brodeur is back. Back to the active roster. And after playing out of the park all weekend, I appreciate the fact that you can temporarily go above your roster limit in our game. A little friendlier interface-wise. How did Janicic do? That's interesting. 5 games, 390 goals against average, and 898 save percentage, which is pretty damn good at this stage of the NHL. And Pierre Hamel is still down 869. He improved it a little bit. I'm going to put him in the minors, and we'll go with Janicic as a backup for the rest of the year.
Ooh.
I don't think it's going to make a huge difference regardless, because we are still way, way down there. We are 3 points out of a playoff spot. We got only the Hawks are still in touch with us. I don't think we're going to catch them, but we will roll through the trading deadline and make a choice at that point. So development report. Leafs Canucks trade. What did they do? Oh yeah, there's a typical Canucks trade from that era. Bring in a 35-year-old guy who's probably done, and Frank Nigro, who was a decent prospect but never panned out, in return for a guy who can play full-time and probably will be in the league for another 5 years. And Brad Smith, great character guy.
That sounds
Oh,
about right.
well done. And I think there's actually Jake Milford running the team at this point, who's arguably one of the best GMs we've ever had, but not one of his greater trades there. Although we don't have the real coach and GM in the game, would be. I'm not even going to look to see what's wrong with Hull this time. We got another injury for him.
He's making it really hard for us to trade him.
Extremely hard. 1-12-0 in the last month. Ouch.
How much is he hurt for? Maybe we should just let him rest and get fully healthy.
How much has he got on this temporary? He's still got 2 months. He's going to be like this to the end of the season because we've only got 14 games left.
Too bad.
No, Berter got hurt again. And it's another serious one, chronic back soreness, 3 weeks. First the shoulder, now the back. So, back on the injury list he goes. Back to the reserve list I go. And what the heck, Hamel is there. Mattson isn't rated much worse than Hamel. Let's give Marcus Mattson a look this year. I remember with the real life Jets, these couple of years, they'd go through like 5 or 6 different goalies a season, so might as well follow along with that in real life. I think Mattson is probably going to get most of the starts from the AI because he's rated a little bit higher than Janicic is at this point, whose numbers are starting to slide already, I can see. But 1 more week to the trading deadline. And hey, we got a trade offer. Oh, first before we do that though, Flames traded Dan Bouchard to the Hawks. So the Hawks taking care of the aging Tony Esposito. They went with Murray Bannerman in real life, but picked up Bouchard from Atlanta. That's an interesting trade actually. Rich Preston, ex-Jet, and Earl Ingerfield Jr. To the Flames. If I remember right, I think his father was actually an original Flame.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a bad deal. Kind of interesting. Not the, yeah, it kind of works for both teams. I like that one. And clicking on the proposal for the lease. And we get Norma. There we go. We had Jude Duran on the trading block for a reason, and Norma Ban is not exactly the going to have a huge impact for us, but it's better than keeping around a 31-year-old guy with no real future in the league. I am going to take this one.
All right.
And how is Oban rated? I probably should have looked at the stars to begin with before his ratings, but I was so happy to get the offer. I'm going to put him in the minors. He's not anything special at this point, but might be a depth guy for us in 2 or 3 years. And we got 2 more days to the trading deadline, so we may get, cross your fingers, hope we get an offer for Bobby Hull in the next couple of days. Peter Marsh, day to day.
Playing around to see if I can. Well, in my game, Toronto will take Bobby Hull for a 5th and a 6th round pick.
That does not sound like a bad idea at all. So, at least we're actually above 500. This was the year Ballard started ripping the team apart in real life. Or actually, no, it might have been the season before, depending on how you define it. But I mean, at this point, Lanny McDonald's still there, Tiger Williams still there, Boutet, all those guys that he dumped in that big purge when he brought in Punch Imlach. And, the Leafs are actually being reasonably sensible. This is what the early '80s Leafs would have looked like with relatively sane management.
Well, that's just impossible.
Yeah. So what the heck? Let's
see if they'll make that trade.
I'm just trying to see if there's anybody on this lineup or on the reserve list that I might want instead of. See Carl Brewer. They're right. This is where they really went to hell when they brought Carl Brewer back out of retirement. He had been gone for 6 or 7 years, and the Leafs were just ridiculous at this point. They brought Brewer out of retirement. He hadn't played in half of a decade, and they gave him a bunch of games. They also had one game they even sat Johnny Bower, who was in his 60s at the time, I think, on the bench as a backup goalie. Not because they had, I think they might have had an injury, but rather than call somebody up, they just didn't put Bauer on there. It would have been a complete travesty if the guy had to actually had to go into a game. John Wensink, where'd they pick him up? That's Wensink would be a nice tough guy to have. Only 2.5 stars, but I don't really want him on the roster at that level. Bruce Boudreau. Way back when he was still a career AHL great. Could pick him up. He's only 25 at this point, but we got lots of centers. Don't really want him. Brad Smith, great character guy. They picked up from the Canucks. Don't really see anything at all that I want to deal with here. Well, let's just let's see if we can get Wensink as a throw-in the Hull deal.
Could happen. You could try and pry Quinville away too, but I'm not sure they would do that.
That's one possibility. Yeah, and Quinville had a little bit of offense as a defenseman, for at least this point in his career. I think he got up to 20 or 30 points, which is a little bit more than what we can expect out of most of our guys. Oh, they're not liking that.
Draft picks might be the best bet too, for that matter.
Yeah, see, they're not. I think I'm wondering if, because you didn't have the Hall injury in your game, that's probably what's holding it up on this end.
That's possible.
Is there anybody else that I'd want to get rid of? See, I think, we're gonna, because of that injury, we're just stuck with Hall like that until he quits. Maybe we get a second season out of him. If he bounces back from this, I'll try to move him in the off season. But I think we're just stuck with him this way for now. Where are we in the standings? Oh god, yeah, we're 11 points behind Chicago with 12 games to go, so we're not going to make this up. We're going to finish probably the 3rd or 4th overall draft pick, and I think be happy enough with that, and we'll get a decent player. Maybe might actually get Dave Babich, the guy we really took the Jets really took that year. So yeah, let's wind this season up, fire it right through to April the 8th. Unless we get a trade offer. No, we're not gonna.
Too bad.
And I think I screwed something up in the general manager option here. I didn't. Did I take that off? Yeah, it's not supposed to be alerting me for day-to-day injuries, so now it won't. And there we go. And instead of a day-to-day injury, I get a major injury for Morris Lukowich. So it's funny how the 3 key guys on the team this year, Lukowich, Brodeur, and Hall, are the ones getting constantly injured. And strained abdominal. He's out for a month, and that is the end of our season.
They're also playing the most, so they should probably get injured a little more.
Yeah, that may have a bit of an effect. And let's see, who's a young guy we can give playing time to at the end of the year? Benoit Gosselin, Lawrence Stone, Moffat, Pat Daly. It's a possibility. Larry Hopkins, kind of a good character guy, tough guy in real life. Didn't have a long career, but was pretty well liked. One of those guys you kind of keep around your minor league team forever, because he's a good influence on the young guys. We'll bring him up for this last month or so. And we got Richard Brodeur back.
Maybe they'll be like the real Jets and try and ruin their draft position.
So who gets down here? Not that the actual Jets would try to do that. You're 1 point ahead of the Canucks right now and holding. Hopefully.
Yeah.
How did Matson do? Well, Matson had a great start for us. 901 save percentage and 5 and 6. So I'm actually going to send Janisic back down to the minors. And we'll leave Marcus Matson up for the rest of the year just as a reward for doing reasonably well. Randy Gregg still hurt. Final development report. Okay, yeah, we've got only improvement during the season. You know, Matty Hagen continuing to pick up. Yeah, some of our younger guys are improving. Bill Nyrup improving, coming back after his layoff. Tim Waters gets better. That's good. Bob Janisic had a little bit of an improvement. Okay, not bad. And Oban, who we just picked up from the Leafs, improves his strength a little. And Denny Potvin, Player of the Month. All right, let's look at the league standings just to see. In the playoff format these year was top 8 in the conference. If I'm, oh no, I think I can't remember if it was this year or the next year they switched to the divisional format. But regardless, I was actually counting that wrong. Even we're 20 points out, not behind the Capitals are having a decent year. It wasn't Washington, Chicago we needed to chase. It was Washington, and that's not going to happen easy either. So roll right through to the end of the season, almost there. And board confidence update. Our owner thinks this season is disappointing so far and that we really need to improve the team. Yeah, no kidding.
Thank you for telling us something we already know.
He's still satisfied with his with our performance. And looks like the Detroit coach is in trouble. Almost to the end of the year here. And I think that is the end of the season. So where'd we finish? 20 wins, 52 losses, and 8 games. We were talking before the broadcast how we don't get teams with 40 and 50 point totals anymore. Here we go. You can see this year. It was the team of the year that the WHA teams entered the NHL. So expansion year, there are going to be some really bad teams, and we're one of them. Colorado. Oh look, we didn't screw something up though. Look at this. 48 points, 49-49. We get the second overall pick, which is exactly where we picked for real.
Perfect.
In the game, Colorado is going to get the real first pick. In real life, they finished last this season and wound up with the first overall pick. However, they had traded that away to Montreal prior to this. So Montreal wound up taking Doug Wickenheiser, which in retrospect they would have been much happier with Denny Savard, who was, I can't remember exactly which pick, 3rd or 4th overall. I think it might have even been lower than that. Wickenheiser got off to a rough start and was finally starting to pick up when he hurt himself falling off the back of a truck at a St. Louis Blues team party and was never the same after that. And 108 goals differential.
And I can just see Rich Grisham has joined us in the chat.
Hey there, Rich.
And so he says 48 points, boom. But I hear about the Colorado Rockies, I always chuckle just a little bit because Rich is, of course, a New Jersey fan.
Yep, so this is a team you're getting in a couple of years, Rich, so enjoy that. The nice thing is, though, when they move to New Jersey, you're going to have whoever the first-round pick in the coming draft is, probably Savard, playing for them. So they're going to get better a lot faster than they did. So there's...
Real New Jersey could have used him, too.
Yeah, looking at the stats for the end of the season for us, Matty Hagman finished as a leading scorer. Bobby Hull, injury and all, checks in with 58 points. Bill Clement, great pickup for us. Hopefully he doesn't crash and burn like he did at real life in this point. Lindstrom picked up a little bit. Craig Norwich, defensive deficiencies aside, had a pretty good year.
Good.
And why am I not seeing... Oh, I'm not looking at just a little tip here. If you want to get a look at everybody in the system or everybody who got under contract and their point totals, I wasn't seeing Morris Lukowicz there, which threw me, but that's because he was injured. And I can put him back onto the active roster now. It's the end of the season, so it doesn't really matter. But you can see the points for everybody on the team that year. So he actually led the team in scoring, not Hagman. Jimmy Mann doing exactly what we expect of him. 245 penalty minutes. Randy Gregg, not bad. Seeing he was going to medical school part-time in addition to playing. Pretty good numbers from him. The sorting by game rating. Okay, Larry Hopkins probably wasn't the wisest choice to bring up in retrospect. Don't think he'll be back next year. Oh, God. Yeah, okay, Steen, I hope I didn't damage him by bringing him up too soon, and he got beat up pretty badly. Ay.
How can you damage him by bringing him up too soon? I'm curious.
If when you're seeing really bad game rating scores, if he's playing consistently bad, there's a couple of different ways. His morale can go down, which can affect his development rate.
Okay.
If he's playing particularly badly, but the bigger problem is if he's in over his head, that can really hurt his development. If he's playing in a league where he's nowhere near good enough, which appears to be the case right now. Likewise, if this was the if we had the full minor league set up like we do in real life, and had sent him down to the federal league or something. If he's dramatically better than the league he's in, where he's not going to learn anything playing against a bunch of guys that are much less talented than he is, that's going to hurt him as well. But well, what's done is done at this point, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Let us have a look at the league standings, and I'm going to play through the end of the month. We'll see how the playoffs progress. This was the start of the Islander dynasty in real life.
One of the best dynasties of all time in
wow,
any sport.
I just noticed that. Check out the point total at the end of the year. 133 points in 80 games.
Whew.
63-10. Yeah, you think they weren't too bad at this point? And we actually helped them out a little bit. We sent them Peter Sullivan for Brodeur. Have a look at their scoring totals. Yeah, see, that's pretty on the money. Bossy 60 goals, 130 points. Trache right behind him. Denny Potvin, huge year. Tonelli, Gillies, just look at that depth. Unbelievable. I can go halfway down this list, and there's guys that would be on our first line. Yeah, they got the full season out of Ken Morrow from the Olympic team. Wow.
That's why they won so many cups.
Sullivan, they picked up Kent Eric Anderson at some point, same with Tim Higgins. And Rich was mentioning that the Rockies got Chico Resch, but not in this game because he's still an Islander, and looks like he's beat Billy Smith out for the starting job, at least temporarily. That'll probably switch up in another season or two. But I'm guessing these guys are the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup. We will play through to the end of May. And Islanders and the Stars upset them.
What?
Yeah, hey, let's see what happened there. Stars over the Canadiens at the end of the season. 7-game series, too. Wow. What happened?
Wow.
Okay, so the Stars upset the Islanders coming out of that conference. And Canadiens, no surprise, they made it to the finals because they probably got a lot fewer injuries this year than they did in real life. But let's see how this happened. Okay, so game 7, there's series starts. Minnesota wins 3-1. Montreal evens it up. Minnesota goes ahead. So is up 3-1 at one point. Montreal bounces back, wins 2. And game 7, 1-goal difference. Was this an overtime game? Nope, not quite. Third period summary. Neil Broughton, rookie Neil Broughton's first year. Wow, look at that. Montreal was winning 3-2. 3 minutes left in the third period. Dino Ciccarelli scores at, I think was a rookie too this year, come to think of it. scores, and then to tie it, and then Broughton 19 seconds later gets the winner. So 2 rookies scoring in the last 2 minutes and 40 seconds of Game 7 of the final, and that's how the Habs dynasty ended. You believe that?
Wow.
Oh, that would have not made me happy if I was a Canadiens fan, and the Stars wind up getting their first Stanley Cup.
Well, let's be honest. Montreal Canadiens fans are never happy.
Yeah, and well, I mean, this year they got reason for it, but I could not blame them for not being happy at the way that turned out this year. I'm going to have a look at the Stars playoff stats. And how did they do this? Steve Payne leading the way. So you see, I mean, the amazing thing is the Stars were really young at this point too, so they could turn into a pretty interesting team, because we've got the year-to-the-year development turned off, and the strict annual recalculation for the ratings turned off, and they'll develop pretty much freeform at this point, and some of these players might turn out a little bit better. Well, they even did this. Looks like Bobby Smith and Al McAdam both missed some games with injuries in the playoffs. So huge upset. Can't see anybody having a really incredible performance. Syria Hartsburg was pretty good. Steve Payne.
Ratcast from the chat says, "Yeah, screw the Habs. Who was in net for the Stars and the Habs?"
Denny Herron in goal for the Habs, and Gilles Meloche for the Stars. And not spectacular for either one of them. And 3 stars. Brad Maxwell with 3 assists for Minnesota, and I think he probably assisted, if he's got 3 of them. No, he got 2 in the first period, and then 1. Nope, he assisted on the tying one, and then. Oh, that's kind of ironic. Dave Langevin, who would have been with the Islanders' real-life Stanley Cup team that year, got the assist on the winner. And Broughton gets 3rd star. Guy Lafleur chips in 3 points. Yeah, Montreal's big line showed up. But, that's that one defensive pair got killed. Gilles Lupien, 35 game rating, and he's -3. Ouch. So there's the GOAT right there. And it looks like he was probably on the ice for both of those last couple of goals.
That's rough.
So tough luck there, Montreal. And what I'm going to do is just run this up to the 79 entry draft, which is coming up very soon. And is there anything else interesting to look at? I will do that, and then we'll take a quick look back at the award winners for the year. Oops, don't want to do that. Right, what's the date on the draft? Oh no, that's right. Sorry, I forgot I'm playing historical. I don't get the entry draft until the beginning of next season rather than the end of this one. So I'm just going to run it right to the June 30th end of season date, and then I think we'll stop this there, and we'll pick up with the draft next time, because that's interesting. And what do we got? We got some news here. And a few Hall of Fame inductions: Harry Lumley, Red Kelly, Alex Delvecchio, and John Busek. Reasonable choices all around there. And let's have a look at the award winners. See, Gretzky gets Rookie of the Year. The game doesn't understand that Gretzky wasn't a true rookie. I need to, at some point, go back in and set up the correct definitions.
Well,
for the counting WHA stats is not as disqualifying guys for the rookie. Gretzky gets Rookie of the Year, MVP. He had 137 in real life. He was way ahead of that this year, 175 points. So and despite all that, the Oilers still don't make it to the finals. Denny Potvin gets the Norris. Not a surprise there. Steve Payne got the Conn Smythe as the MVP. So that answers that. Ironically enough, Denny Herron, the guy who gave up those late 2 goals, winds up being the getting the Vezina. Or I think it was technically Yeah, the Vezina at this point was still being handed out to the two goalies on the team or the goalies who played at least 25 games on the team with the lowest goals against, and they switched that over to the Jennings a couple of seasons later. But right now in the game, it's just as it's the actual current Vezina definition, which is the best goalie in the league. So Heron probably has terrible stats by modern standards. Yeah, 890 save percentage, 275 goals against average. That was actually great at this point. But tells you how good the goaltending in the league was at this point when Denny Heron was not all that spectacular. So, and yeah, the Islanders got the equivalent of the Jennings Award. Trottier gets best defensive forward. Selke, so not bad. Reggie Lemelin gets the save percentage. Gretzky gets the Norris. Gretzky gets the what would be the Rocket Richard eventually. And Rod Langway, top plus minus guy. How did he finish? Plus 71. Not bad at all.
Impressive.
Not plus 100 Bobby Orr had one year, but still pretty good. Okay, so we are at the end of the year, and I'm not going to ruin the surprise. We'll see who retires very shortly, and I'm guessing... Oh, wait, we did want to do that, and Hull is injury-free now. So should we try to mess with the Leafs and see if we can make that deal that we were thinking about earlier?
Well, that or we need to try and sign him first.
Let's just try it without putting him on a contract, because that's playing even dirtier. It wouldn't surprise me if they re-signed him, but...
He may. Be more interesting to see if Gordie Howe retires.
Where did Hull go? That's weird.
Did he retire?
I'm not in July yet. He shouldn't have.
Check under possible free agents and see if he's still there.
On the roster. That's strange. Oh, is he still on the... I didn't look at the top of the screen. He might have still been in the trade box. Yeah, that's where he is. That's why he's there.
Ah.
And they don't like the trade any better now. But we got a couple minutes. I'm going to wind this up by going through the guys we want to re-sign, which is literally only Hull.
Well, yeah, there's just
and
not
we
very
got
many
Gary Smith
free
about to
agents.
retire, so let's see if we can get a...
You should probably take the player up. They'll make the trade without him.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Hull on a contract first, but now we got a big problem because he wants a contract with a no trade clause. Figures.
Just offer him more money. More money is always the solution.
Okay, I'll give you an extra 10,000. Gonna be generous if you will take away that stupid no trade clause. He likes the offer, but he wants a no trade clause. Ah, boy.
Offer him another 10,000.
It may not help if he's, we can't afford it. So, okay, I'm going to actually give him another $25,000, $140,000 contract. And we'll see if he likes it. He might be going for it. Okay, actually, I think I will advance this one more day and just get us over at the July limit. It's because we got a couple of minutes left here, and it may take us a minute or so to get through the annual update calculations. And what do we got? Oh, it's the end of season development report. Oh, it's through that already. Draft order. Jets go second.
Nice.
And I'm just going to change this. Whoops. can't remember how retirements are classified. Transactions. Here we go. Here's the retirement. So at the end of the year, Dave Keon retires. Dan Mikita retires. Robbie Irons, minor leaguer. Jean Rattel retires. Jude Drouin, who we traded away, is retired. Terry Harper, late Ace Bailey. Yep, Gordie Howe is done. Let's see how Gordie did in that last season.
Gordie Howe retired.
Well, it's actually right on the money, I think, for what he really did. 38 points in 67 games. I'd have to look it up, but I think that's like plus minus 2 or 3 points in a few fewer games. So, yeah, decent season for Gordie. And Bobby Hull. He left. Didn't even want the contract. He did go out on top with a good season, though, so that's kind of a better finish than he had in real life. And we couldn't get anything for him. I'm just going to bump one guy up. I'm going to move Steen back down to the reserve list. I don't want to take a chance on messing him up anymore. And Suk can go down, and I'm going to... Looks like Lars-Erik Schuberg, who I think retired this year, actually stayed around. So we'll have him for at least one more season. So that's a little bit of good news. And I want to bring up one forward. Or, no, it's two forwards, actually. I'll take Oban, who he traded for. And bring up... well, Lawrence Stamler had that one good game at the start of the year, and then we dumped him into the minors, and he never came back. Still only 22 players? How's that? I thought...
Well, I guess next time we'll have to look at buying out some guys and
one more guy in the reserve list. Yeah, we'll be trimming the roster for sure, definitely in the off season.
And seeing what we can do.
And I will bring up one more form. I'm just going to bring Markel back up for the time being, and we'll probably replace him pretty quickly at the end of the season. And the entry draft is coming up on July the 10th. So we'll leave it there, and we've got some pretty interesting guys to look at when we get there. Well, I think we can call it a week for this week. We will be back doing this again 2 weeks from now. We'll be playing your Modern Jets game next Wednesday.
Yep. So we'll probably right around the trade deadline for the 2016-17 Winnipeg Jets.
Are we that far forward? I thought we were.
I've been going. I've been chipping away at it. We've been continuing to win.
Okay,
so.
playing off.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're winning, so it's fun.
Oh yeah, well, exactly. So we're doing things. So we'll be gearing up for a possible Stanley Cup run. You can find us on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern following the Out of the Park baseball stream on www.twitch.tv/ootpdevelopments.com. This video will be archived on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ootpdevelopments. You can find us on Twitter, which is @franchisehockey. You can find us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/franchisehockey-manager. And you can always come to our forums, which is ootpdevelopments.com/boards for all your Out of the Park baseball, Franchise Hockey Manager 2, MLB Manager for iPhone and Android, news. Jeff, is there anything I need to add?
Nope, I think you've covered pretty much everything, so we'll be back next week seeing if we can get the Jets into the real Modern Jets into the playoffs, and hopefully have better results than Jets teams typically do in the playoffs. But I think we can sign out from here. Have a good week, everybody, and like Adam said, if you have any questions or you want to know more about the game, please just ask us on one of the various different places we hang out.
All right.